if you ask a student to put themselves in the shoes of a teacher, it's even better for their learning journey. And we know this from a lot of research out there. It is best for a student to study something and then explain that to someone else rather than studying it twice. Hello, I am Alberto.
And I'm Isabella. And together we're thinking about education all the time.
All the time.
Currently, our main research portfolio is on this. We also teach as part of our daily jobs as associate professors of economics at UNSW. And we also have jointly a 4-year-old together. And let me tell you, raising a kid, even at this very young age, makes it quite clear how important education is, particularly with all the research out there highlighting the role of education in all aspects of life and at every age. So it's fair to say we're thinking about education all the time.
And in particular, with our research, we are focusing on higher education. And what we want to achieve is the next big leap. And we really mean the big part.
Big as in better, more inclusive education for the 21st century and everybody in it.
Here are the ingredients we have in mind. Well, first of all, we want education to get better and better, richer, more interesting as we increase the number of students. Because, like it or not, large classes are here to stay. We have to find ways to leverage that large number.
And that sounds right, but it also sounds tricky because conventional wisdom and a lot of hardcore research has shown time and time again that the education experience for everybody worsens as you increase the number of students in the class. Apparently, something to do with an inevitable part of how the education system works. And let's face it, whenever I tell Alberto that we yet again enroll a lot of students in our courses,
and we're talking about thousands of students.
We do, I can see his emotional roller coaster. Great, we must have done something good, and then immediately after, can we support, can we catch everyone? Or our favorite economics phrase, assume we never sleep or eat for the next 10 weeks. Doing things properly, making them personal for each and every one of those 1,000 students would still take more than 24 hours in a day. And I know this is a daunting thought on the mind of many academics.
Okay, then, so we need to break more conventions and think outside the box. What if I asked, are students as good as professional staff in marking and giving feedback? You are probably skeptical, and to be fair, Isabella and I were also skeptical, but that didn't prevent us from running a randomized controlled trial about it, just like a pharmaceutical company would do to test a drug. And what we saw was that, in fact, student feedback, the quality of the marking, is just the same as professional staff. And in fact, students that were more exposed randomly to peer feedback ended up doing just as well in the final exam. That really changed the way we were thinking about our students.
That's right. It made us see them in a completely different light. They're way more resourceful and capable and aware of their environment than we give them credit for. And if they're showing you anything else in class, it's probably because they're not as engaged as that they could be. Something to think about, because at their best, and at least for certain aspects, they can be more than just partners. They can be us, the professionals.
And if you're wondering at this point, are you guys trying to put yourself out of a job? Well, we are gonna burn that bridge, but before we cross it, okay?
I don't think that's
not how saying go?
No.
Yeah. That doesn't sound right.
All right, so in all fairness, we should have qualified this statement a little bit more. We should have said students are just as good as providing feedback as academics, as professionals, on average. And this is the idea behind the wisdom of the crowd principle, which is nothing new. Think Stack Exchange, think Wikipedia. There's this idea that they all rely on collective human knowledge rather than the opinion of one professional, of one expert. How did it go? The idea that there is an idiosyncratic risk, meaning noise, associated with each individual judgment. But if you take the average over a large enough number of such individual judgments, the error, the noise, cancels out. And I got that from Wikipedia, just to prove a point.
Well done there. So the wisdom of the crowd works, and it's quite amazing because it also applies to things like short answer questions that are multidimensional with rich feedback. It just works. But there is more to that. If you ask a student to put themselves in the shoes of a teacher, it's even better for their learning journey. And we know this from a lot of research out there. It is best for a student to study something and then explain that to someone else rather than studying it twice. So that's an added bonus to the wisdom of the crowd approach.
And of course, this can also break some concerning trends that we are seeing right now. Can you imagine Socrates being really concerned about teaching evaluations? That would have been a funny sight.
That's a very good point. If we want to get out of that conundrum, maybe we need to start thinking about students as not just partners, but also equals. Because after all, shouldn't we all be learning all the time and challenging the status quo all the time? So we are on the same boat. However, I should say, if you want to try to implement a system like this, you need to look into the smallest details in order for this to work. And as any good economist would do at this point, we're just going to say details available upon request.
Maybe.
If we got the time.
Right. Now, we've seen time and time again that wisdom of the crowd works. But how do you get the crowd? And here we need to break another convention. We need to reach out and draw in not just young people, not just students, but people from all walks of life, of all ages. Draw in as many people as we can. In order to do that, education needs to be engaging and personal. Think as entertaining as Netflix and as interactive as a video game.
And so Isabella and I actually made a video game. It's a massive multiplayer online video game, open 24/7. You control your little avatar and you are in this shared world with other students and your academics. And the assessment is really the life of your avatar, the good things you did, the societies you developed with other people, the happiness you achieved. Even at the end of your avatar life, we are going to put a tombstone there describing all the things that you did in a summary for other people to see. And of course, you have the chance of trying again as a descendant of your avatar in a infinite dynasty, because we want to give you another chance to get it right.
Thanks God for that. Now, wisdom of the crowd kicks in again because it's a video game. And in a video game, the more users play, the more students are engaged, the better the video game experience, in this case, the educational experience. Why? Because with more users, with more students, you get richer stories. You get exposed to more types of emergent economies. You get to see what goes wrong and what goes really well in each one of them. You get to fix them. So, again, large numbers just means better educational outcomes. And thanks God for the wisdom of the crowd, because marking an MMO, a massive multiplayer online assessment like this, it's not mission impossible.
We also worked out ways to integrate already taxation, engineering, medicine into the same universe. So this can go beyond social sciences.
Now, it goes beyond social sciences, but is it a good idea? Is mixing fun and study at the end of the day really a good idea? Now, economists have long recognized that injecting leisure into productive activities has indirectly a beneficial effect. Think of a hearty meal with a friend before going back to work. Can leisure be, however, directly productive? We've run an experiment on that. In our case, it was teaching with a video game. Can that be productive for educational outcomes? And the answer is yes. And more than that, teaching with a video game can actually change really sensitive decisions like the choice of one's degree. So it really goes deep. Now, there are caveats. Push this concept to the limit and inject pure leisure into study, a productive activity. Think giving your avatar several hats or giving them pets to follow them around. And, well, interesting results. Women can actually, or female students can benefit from this and excel educationally, while men tend to get a little bit distracted. Multitasking problem much?
I don't know. I need to check the data again.
I'm going to check the data again.
What's going on with this man? Also, another thing that we studied is the role of leadership. So we looked at how female and male students reacted to being led in the simulation by a female or a male president. And the interesting part about it is that it looks like men and female are doing just as well in leading their digital economies. However, female students end up doing better in the real world in their final exam whenever they were led by a female president, really suggesting like a symbolic value behind female leadership.
However, men tend to be completely unfazed by all of this. Whether their leader is a male or female, whether they know whether their leader is a male or female or not. Now that's an interesting result, but I guess Alberto's going to follow on here saying that we need to look at the males' data again.
What's going on with men? We should check the data again. If you put all this together, you have a new approach to education, which is blending leisure and study. It's changing the role of students, making them really tapping into the full resources that they have. And it's also scaling up very well with numbers and making for a learning journey that is more fun, personal, memorable.
So here's to a time when the consumer decision is going to be between the latest movie released on Netflix or the amazing experience of an interactive UNSW course, both rated on Metacritics.
And this is us, folks. Thanks so much for tuning in.
So often we see information like, this drug may cause headache, or 30% of people who take this drug will experience headache. But what if we flip the script and focus on the positive? 70% of people who take this drug won't experience headache. That certainly sounds better. And it turns out that focusing on the positive, on the people who don't experience side effects, can actually reduce the nocebo effect.